Hi, this is Josh Kotler with Western Digitech in Miami, Florida. We're an IT services firm specializing in legal technology. We've been in business since 1994, and I've been in business, or at least in the IT business for law firms, since 1991. Today I'm going to be giving a short presentation on some ideas about saving money and increasing revenue with IT for today's law firms. I've got my coffee ready, and let's get started. Saving money and making money that's a very straightforward concept. In this example, I'm going to be using a 15-attorney firm with 5 paralegals to determine or give you guys some sense of how much money we can really save or produce in new revenue by improving efficiency. So 15-attorney firm, if we can squeeze out an extra half an hour of billable time per week, we can add $10,000 per month in new revenue to the bottom line. Some of these technologies that I'm going to cover save money, some make money, and some do both. I'm going to use this graphic that I found. Actually got it from a IT partner in Tampa. This graphic is a representation of the modern office. If you look at the pullouts, you'll see that most of these technology areas are things that we deal with in a typical law firm today. Some are a little bit more secure, like surveillance and digital signage, but every one of these technologies or services are things that my company has worked with in a law firm in the last year or two, even digital surveillance. It's a good graphic because it helps us drill into specific areas, and as we drill into specific areas, we can look for areas where we can save money or make money. Let's start with IP telephony. We're Cisco voice partners here at Western Digitech, and we've implemented a lot of IP telephony systems over the last 3, 4, 5 years. One of the things that we look to do is determine a strong ROI by going to IP telephony, and we've done that in a variety of ways. One of the best ways, and something I didn't anticipate going in, was through conference calling costs. One of our clients, and this is certainly an outlier, was spending $20,000 per month on conference calling costs. With Cisco Voice, we were able to wipe that $20,000 expense out. Obviously, the return on investment on that particular system was very short. Typically, you're going to find something less. We see between $400, $500, $600 per month. It's pretty typical for the firm size that we're using as our example today. It's still a great way to find savings, and when you couple it with a lease payment, let's say for a new IP voice solution, it goes a long way if you can save that $600 or $700. On the revenue side, we're able to look at things like, well, what sort of effect will we have if we put remote phone sets in a home office for an attorney, or if we put soft phones on laptops, or if we put a remote phone at a client site where we're going to have attorneys working for a prolonged period of time. Is that going to yield cost savings or a revenue increase? The answer is, in a lot of cases, absolutely. If you're in a position as a partner in a law firm or a senior associate and you're billing $400 an hour, if you're in a position where you can take an extra call from a client or extend your workday a little bit because you've got a great voice solution in your house, then that's pretty easy to determine that we're going to save some money or make some money doing that. Integrating with mobile phones, there's some savings there associated with reducing the minutes that you currently spend on your mobile phone. With a modern IP telephony system, we can pass calls back and forth between our mobile phones and our office phone system. At the end of the day, with an IP telephony system that's properly configured, we're going to enable a better customer experience through better communication, whether just audio only or audio with video. We're also going to be able to access low-cost SIP providers for international long distance, saving money, and we're going to be able to reduce or eliminate telephony costs for firms with multiple offices, right, in terms of the connectivity between those offices. One of the things you need to know is none of the savings are possible until you can get out of any current contracts or lease arrangements or service agreements that you have associated with your current solution. So go back to your office, figure out what your contract status is, what your lease status is, and if you're nearing the end of some of these agreements, now's a great time to look at a new IP voice solution for your firm. Internet connectivity and WAN links. Today, we've got an opportunity to access more bandwidth, better bandwidth for a lower cost. As long as you're not under a contract, you're going to be able to get some great deals in the market today. In our area, we've got providers that are offering 100 megabit connections, internet connections, for as little as $350 a month, depending on the building you happen to be at. Even if you're not in a downtown core or in a pre-wired building, we have a provider that provides 100 megabit Ethernet for $1,000 a month. That's still a great price, okay? And it's much better than spending $700 or $800 on one or two T1 lines. In this area, we also want to look at something called WAN redundancy. What happens now if your internet connection goes down? Well, your firm's ability to work is greatly diminished. Right? Emails stop going back and forth. Internet-based research doesn't happen. Internet connectivity is a big deal. In the past, the idea of having multiple WAN links or internet connections was cost prohibitive. Now things have gotten a lot less expensive, and we found the Comcast business cable is a great way to add a second connection for a very low monthly cost. So look at that. The hardware required to do WAN redundancy is inexpensive. Configuration is easy. Something you need to take a look at. Final little point I want to make in this area is mobile wireless cards. You'd be surprised how many times I go into a firm and find out that they've got 4 or 5 mobile wireless cards sitting on a shelf that they loan out to traveling attorneys. Well, most of our cell phones these days, whether you have an Android phone or an iPhone 4, allow us to connect our laptops to the internet through those phones. So we don't need mobile wireless cards anymore. Go back to your office, figure out what, if you have any of these wireless cards floating around, and cancel them. I want to talk about server virtualization here. Server virtualization is essentially running multiple distinct servers on a single physical platform. At Western Digitech, we've been doing it for about 7 years, but an alarming number of firms haven't adopted it yet. If you're near a server hardware refresh, it's a great time to move to virtualization. Let's say you're a typical firm in this example that we're using. 15 attorneys, right? Maybe 35, 40 people. And the chances are you have 3 physical servers if you haven't adopted server virtualization yet. Maybe you have 4. Well, with virtualization, you buy one box, you run a virtualization layer, and then you're able to run the rest of your servers virtually. It's a great way to save, and it's a great way to add flexibility going forward. If you need another server in the future, it's easy to add. It's, you have a license cost and nothing else. You don't have to go out and buy new hardware. Virtualized environments are also easier to support, which yields another cost savings. Desktop virtualization is something whose time is almost here. So this essentially is the same idea as taking a server and virtualizing it, except now we're going to actually take desktops and virtualize those. The net result of all that is we're able to skip hardware refresh cycles on the desktop side of things because nothing runs on those devices anymore. We do sort of a middle ground solution for a lot of our clients right now using a product called Citrix XenApp. It's not true desktop virtualization, but it does take the user session off of the actual desktop, move it to a server, and allows us to extend the life of those desktops. Depending where your firm is in the desktop life cycle, you may be able to save, and again in this example, $30,000 or $40,000 by not upgrading your desktop hardware. And you're still going to get the same great performance. The data center. Data center is very big for us. We are increasingly moving clients, their server equipment, from their office into our data center, and we're moving them in as virtual servers on our infrastructure. So our clients, as they face a server refresh, hardware refresh, are coming to us and saying, you know what, we don't want to go through that capital expense. We don't want to buy new servers. What can you do for us? And what we're doing is we're providing them the resources they need, memory, processor, and disk space. And we're handling backup, and we're handling support. And we're doing it on a monthly fee basis, so there is no capital cost. It's great if you have a sudden need to expand your disk space. We're able to do that. You're not restricted by limitations with equipment that you own in your office. And then there are benefits to just getting to the data center. Uptime is much better. You're not going to deal with things like fire, theft. It's just a much better environment to keep server equipment. So consider moving to the data center the next time you face a hardware refresh, or if you have services that you can move now. Video conferencing. Video conferencing is one of those technologies that's easy to draw out an ROI for. If you have attorneys that are making X number of trips at Y expense, you do the math and you can determine pretty quickly that, hey, you know what, if we can eliminate 20% of those trips with video conferencing, we've got a no-brainer on our hands. But video conferencing goes beyond that. My belief, and the belief of our clients that have opted to go for video conferencing and are using it, is that it's not just saving on travel expenses. What we're doing there is we're restoring quality of life for attorneys and staff that previously had to travel a lot. Right now they don't need to do it as much. But we're also making quality visual communication available at a moment's notice. Once the system's installed, it's a matter of just walking down to your conference room with your clients and your partners. So we're getting better communications with the folks that we need to interact with in our business, and we're saving money. Video conferencing is a great driver of savings and something that almost every firm can benefit from. Western Digitech is a managed services provider, among other things. What that means is that on a fixed fee basis, we will support your firm's technology in a variety of ways. We'll work with your vendors, right? We'll work with the copier companies, we'll work with your telco companies, we'll work with your internet service providers to support your existing technology, deal with any issues that come up, work proactively. Well, for firms that don't have an IT resource in-house, it's a no-brainer. You get a much better result for a fixed fee, and often that's a lower fixed fee than you may have thought possible. For firms that do have IT resources, what we found is that by outsourcing the low-value work, and let's be honest, maintaining servers, keeping email up and running, making sure backups are happening, updating and patching desktops, and supporting end users, let's face it, that's low-value work. By moving that low-value work to another provider, internal resources are able to focus on areas that really drive revenue and drive performance for a law firm. A great example is litigation technology. Now, litigation technology, if you have to outsource that, is very expensive. Better off keeping that stuff in-house and using it, on more and more cases. So, managed services are an area that you need to take a look at. If you've got something that's relatively low value that you can outsource, then you should outsource it. At the end of the day, law firms are not in the technology business. The only reason that law firms have so much technology and so many technology resources in-house is because previously that was just the only way to enable applications and empower users with these tools. But that's not the case anymore. Let's talk about off-site backup and disaster recovery. If you're still backing up to tape and not getting that tape back up off-site, you need to make some changes. Tape-based backups are expensive when you consider all of the employee time and sort of babysitting time associated with keeping them running. They're slow and they're unreliable. You'd be surprised at how many times you take a tape that's been catching a backup job for 3-4 years, you pop it in to restore a file that's missing, and you find out that the tape's unreasonable, or unreadable. I guess that would make it unreasonable too. What I've also determined is that oftentimes the tape jobs are built properly in the beginning, but as the system changes, as data is added, as new folders are created, that tape job is no longer complete. You very well may be getting your backups, running them, you may have a successful job report, but you may be skipping critical files. So with offsite backup and disaster recovery, what we've done, and what many other providers have done, we don't back up files anymore, we back up the entire server, and we get it offsite to a data center, where it can't burn up in a fire, where it can't be stolen, where it can't be ruined by a flood. And we can do that at a cost that is less expensive than operating a traditional tape-based backup system. Now, you don't have to do it with a company like ours. There are backup services from folks like Mozy, Amazon, Carbonite. There are business class services, and there are consumer services. Make sure you choose the right one. And make sure that the business class services, which in my opinion are a little limited, are good enough for you. So the action item here, consider what your firm needs in terms of backup and continuity, determine how much downtime is acceptable, and then buy based on that. But don't put your faith in tape-based backups. They just don't work. Document management. Documents are sort of the be-all and end-all for a law firm. Your work product is a document. The things you work with every day are documents. You need to store them, you need to manage them, and document management systems enable all that. If you don't have a document management system in place that allows you to file your work product correctly, scan and save, track physical documents, produce new documents, right, document assembly, then you need to have one. You also need to take a hard look at off-site document storage. If you're currently doing business, and I don't mean to disparage a company like Iron Mountain, but if you're doing business with a company like Iron Mountain, you know how expensive it can get over time. And by the way, when you decide to leave, it's even more expensive. The point I'm making is avoid storing documents off-site in a physical form. As a matter of fact, avoid physical documents as much as possible. Look into scanning, look into a document management system, and then make sure you get that data off-site. I worked with a law firm, actually a law firm exactly the same size as our sample firm that we identified in the beginning, not long ago, and was amazed at what we were able to save with a document management system, and amazed at some of the costs for things that I hadn't even considered before. Did you know that this particular firm was spending over $50,000 a year on filing supplies alone? Binders, folders, filing cabinets. Just those supplies alone. When they went to scanning and electronic storage, they saved all that money and much more. And the entire system cost them less than $50,000. So do take a look at that. In conclusion, I want you to sort of take a look at these last few points. They're great drivers of savings, they're great drivers of efficiency, they're great drivers of increased revenue. Avoid contracts. Notify providers in writing that you intend to not renew at the end of the period. You don't want things to auto-renew on you. Virtualize everything you can. Might be a little early to virtualize desktops, but virtualize servers. Invest in training. Training is one of the best things you can do for your firm in terms of improving efficiency. It's the best dollar you can spend. Remember that a better remote experience equals more billable hours. That means remote voice solutions and remote access solutions for your network. Enable more effective communications. Whether that means video, voice, doesn't matter. There's a great ROI with improved communications. and determine the true cost of downtime and invest accordingly. Your firm might be able to tolerate, because of your practice type, downtime of a day or two. It might only be able to tolerate an hour. You may conclude that your firm can't ever have downtime. You have to figure out where you stand in your tolerance level and then invest accordingly, okay? Consider Citrix Zen app or Citrix Zen Desktop or another VDI solution the next time you face a desktop refresh. Before you go out and spend $1,000 per user to put new desktops in front of them, look at your alternatives. There's some big savings in that area. And then finally, document management. Document management can deliver significant savings and significant new revenue. Finally, I just want to pop back to our original graphic here, the modern office, and just point out that we've only looked at a few areas. I encourage you to think about these other areas of IT and determine if savings exist. If you have any questions, look us up. We're at westerndigitech.com. Our direct number is 305-669-0119. My name is Josh Kotler. I'm available to answer any questions that you have, and I look forward to speaking with you. Thanks again for your time.